Hello, and welcome back to Stream On. I am Hollis. With me, as always, is Eila. Hello, Eila.
Hello there.
This week, we are hopping back into TV, into a series that I believe you said you really loved, correct?
Of Black Mirror. It's one of my favorites. It's sort of like Twilight Zone, but with it's a cautionary tale about technology in the soon to be future.
Yeah, they really lean into the technology part of it to a degree I was not expecting.
Yeah.
You had said, "Oh, it's like the Twilight Zone." And I'm like, it's like the Twilight Zone if they kept hammering away at this one sci-fi door that was all about, the future and technology run amok and everything. So we're going to talk season 7. I had not seen any of them and watched it specifically for us. And I just kept binging and I went down 6, 5, 4. I don't know where I stopped, but it was easy to fly through because it's a British series and they don't have as many episodes each season, which I love. I love the way the British do it.
You do?
I do. Also, the series as a whole, like The Office or Faulty Towers, or like the British people don't see the need to run something into the ground to the point where it gets terrible
Yeah.
and you get diminished returns. They're like, okay, I think we've said everything. And I like that.
Well, that is true, but I am very American in that I like excess. I like a lot of what I like.
Bigger
So
portions.
I I appreciate a lot of episodes to go through, and I love to binge something because I just immerse myself in it. So, but I get it. You're right about the quality.
Yeah. Also, I was a little taken aback, and I shouldn't be by now. It's season 7 of what I now see to be probably a prestige show. But I was surprised at how many stars, I guess, are in this from, this season from like,
Paul Giamatti.
I I was getting to that. That was my favorite episode, the Paul Giamatti episode, by the way. It's the most wistful. It's got, if we're talking Twilight Zone, it's almost like the Willoughby episode. It's like it's got some of that, like The Road Not Taken, and oh, it's so sad and beautiful. And who better for that than Giamatti?
Oh my gosh, he's great in it too. Yeah, it's very bittersweet. Oh,
Yeah, really.
and then we have Issa Rae also.
Issa Rae, who's phenomenal. I was going to say, what's her name in Common People? Rashida Jones,
Yeah,
Quincy
yeah,
Jones's daughter,
right, right.
who I'll always
But
see
that-
her as. But also like, oh God, I'm so terrible with names. But Jesse Plemons.
yeah,
I used to call him that big-headed motherfucker who's with Kirsten Dunst,
uh,
and
that
my wife Emily is like, yeah, he's going by Jesse Plemons now.
well, I don't know if you realize, but that's a part two to an episode that was in another season.
I did because I kept binging and I was like, whoa, this came out of nowhere. I loved part 2 more because it was just so beautifully shot and so pretty and really cool people in it. But yeah, that I love. And for a series like this, of course, whoever created it grew up on Star Trek and all of the space sagas. So that
Right.
was very well done.
Part
Um,
one is especially Star Trek heavy. They really lean into the parallels there.
Yeah, I guess that's why in the second one, because I'm such a big Star Trek fan, the first one, oddly enough, you would think it would appeal to me more. It appealed to me less. I liked when they did something else with it in the later one.
Did you catch the cameo, the voice cameo at the very end of part one?
Was it Kirsten Dunst? I don't know.
It was not. It was
Did they
Aaron
get Kirk?
Paul. No, but they got Aaron Paul playing Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad.
Oh my God, that's right. Oh, I binged so much I had forgotten that. But yeah, that's great. Pinkman makes 2 appearances then.
So did he come back in part two? I've
No,
already
no, I'm
forgot.
talking about the one with the 2 astronauts, him and who's lucky number 11? Who's that
Oh,
actor?
Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett. Do you remember that one?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, I could watch. I always call him Jesse Pinkman. I could watch him in everything. Aaron Paul.
He's great. But I wonder if that was just a call from Jesse Plemons because he was on Breaking Bad also saying, "Would you do this?"
Yeah, probably. Although, I've become a lot more cynical in my older age, and I wonder if it's just they all have the same agent.
Oh, could be.
This is all packaging, and yeah, you can get that director. You have to take this actor. You have to do, this writer. Should we go episode by episode a
I
little
think
bit?
I should. Yeah. Let's start with the first one.
Common People,
Oh,
episode one.
this one is dark. So this was your first ever Black Mirror episode.
First ever Black Mirror.
All right. Were you prepared for what was to come?
I'm glad it was the first one. Kind of no, I wasn't prepared, but I'm glad it was the first one because it had a lot to say. And it's funny because it seems like it would be heavy, but it
Yeah.
seemed like a light episode to me.
Really?
Yeah, I guess it was because once they started playing commercials in her head, I was like, okay, I know what they're saying. And it's something that happens to us all the time. We get deeper and deeper into these cable companies with
Right.
the platforms and having to pay for something you used to get for free. And,
And we
you
don't even
know,
realize half the time. At least in this, they were upfront. But I mean,
yeah.
it's like selling your soul.
Yeah, and that guy doing what I guess was like almost the nth degree of a Fear Factor show to fund his wife's brain,
Right.
you
Or
know.
like OnlyFans too. It's the same kind of thing.
Well, it's exploitation is what it is.
Exactly. So let's just give a brief synopsis of this episode in case people don't remember which is which. So this is Rashida Jones and Chris O'Dowd are married, and
Mhm.
she's got a medical condition. Do they ever say what it is? I don't think they do.
I think they leave it purposely vague.
Yeah. But it's extremely serious, and it looks like she's not going to come out of this illness. And
She's in a
so
coma,
she's in a coma.
essentially.
Right. So Tracy Ellis Ross comes and she
Love.
says, well, there is something we can do. It's this, I'm living proof that this works. And it's this medical procedure where it can, I guess it's like a chip that they put in the brain, sort of, right?
Yeah, they kind of clone the part of your brain that is broken and they remove it. And now you have to almost pay rent on the new replacement they gave you.
Right. Exactly. So you're kind of like a computer, but,
Mhm.
present as yourself and you are yourself. You're alive, but,
Mhm.
your brain is being manipulated by this company now, like a life alert where they can
Yeah.
monitor.
Oh, my wife's in a coma and she can't get up. Um,
So it seems ideal at first. It's expensive, but he's willing to do it. What do they start off with, like $250 a month or something like
yeah,
that?
something doable.
Something, somewhat. And even that is not easy for him, but of course, he wants to save his wife.
Right. And then they exasperate it more because she loses her job because she can't turn off the commercials in her head.
Right. So she's telling children to go to church because that's a commercial, and she's doing all crazy.
Hmm.
Can't control what she's saying, and she doesn't even know she's not there when she's doing it. She has no idea that it's even happening.
Yeah, it's almost like she's become this computer that has no program to turn off the pop-up windows.
Exactly right. She comes in and
Um,
does herself, but she sleeps much of the day.
yeah. You know, it seemed to me, and this is why the Twilight Zone analogy that you kind of gave to me before I watched this didn't quite ring true because I felt like this episode should have kept it lighter
Hmm.
and it went heavy and dark in a way I don't think it had to, and in a way that I think hurt the message. I think some Twilight Zone episodes were very kind of not frivolous, but whimsical, like I said before. And like I think this one, it was just so dark with the things this guy was doing to fund it. And then forget about it. The ending is dark as you can go
Yeah.
for both characters. So I think it hurt the overall thing because it created an episode that I don't want to watch again.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Did you find it disturbing or just not fun?
Distasteful.
Oh, okay. All right.
more than I was on board, and I was like, oh, I see where this is going. This is fun. When they brought in, why can't I ever, Diana Ross's kid? I can't ever think of the person who,
Tracy Ellis Ross.
Tracy. I just found it went uglier than it needed to, and I think it hurt the message by doing that, because by the end, the whole commercials playing and all of that was lost on me. I was just like, what, how is this better than just him losing her and then moving on?
Right. I think that was the message,
Mm.
right?
Oh, okay, I got it now.
But,
Oh,
well,
yeah,
I think it's interesting, like, because I think 99% of the world would have made the choice that he did, because if you can save your spouse, that's what that's what you're
right.
going to do.
But I
So,
mean, it raises a question about quality of life,
yeah,
because do you lose your partner and just have all those beautiful memories, or do you keep it going and have it turn into something weird and
weird and horrible.
horrible?
They had 3 extra years, but they were not good years.
Mm-mm.
She wanted to go. She said, "It's time."
You don't want the later years to overshadow all the earlier years, you know? You don't want
Yeah.
big and ugly at the end to kind of be what you're left with.
No, of course, but the point but I think not the point, but we don't know that. We can't know it. So if you think there's some treatment that will work,
Right.
then who's not gonna do it? Although in
Uh,
my mind, sick, I was saying we should be aggressive and try to find, some treatment, and she said, "No, I don't want to. I don't want my last days to be trying to do something that I don't think is gonna work."
yeah.
You know, so she's that rare person who kind of could see the writing on the wall. I wouldn't have been able to. I think I would have done it just because you want hope. I think most people want to feel like they have some control over what's happening. It's just,
Mm.
it's a hard decision to make. Plus, Chris O'Dowd was in a position to make that decision for someone else, not knowing what her wishes were.
See, that's the tricky thing. They came to him. It's almost like in the Twilight Zone episodes when the devil chooses to come to you for the deal. It's always at your lowest point. There's no way he was going to say no.
Right. How could he?
Yeah.
How could he live with himself after that if there was he could have no way of knowing that it would just become a hell for both of them.
Right. Right. Okay. I think we gave this episode way too
Yeah.
much play.
All right. That's it. We're moving on to the next.
Moving on. Bete Noir, the Black Beast, I believe. Maria is a high flying development executive at a chocolate company, and everything is going well for her until someone she hasn't seen since school, a woman named Verity, shows up at a focus group and hijinks ensue.
All right. Did you like this episode any better?
I did. I
Yeah, I
did.
really like this episode. I thought this was fun.
I did. And I loved whoever was playing Verity. She was great.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was. I'm not even sure.
No. Yeah, I think we kind of were like, oh, whenever there's an American actor who,
I know.
but I think the bulk of the actors here are British.
Yeah, they tend to have some sort of Americanish episodes, and then they're regular British
It's
episodes.
very smart. It's a wide
Yeah.
appeal.
Did you see the episode with Miley Cyrus? It was pretty good.
Oh God, it's not sticking out. It must have been one of the first ones, right?
It was maybe season 4 or 5.
Oh, okay. Then I probably did. Maybe I didn't recognize her.
She plays a pop star, kind of like a Miley Cyrus.
Oh, you know what? I skip sometimes.
You
I would
skipped.
see something and I'm like, yeah, I don't. Now I remember I skipped the pop star episode. I was like,
Okay.
is it good? It's worth seeing.
Pretty good. Yeah. I thought it was.
Okay. I mean, I watched like 40 episodes. Something had to give.
Well, I'm glad you liked it enough to watch that much of it.
Yeah, some of these shows, I think they're kind of like, cold pizza. It's always
Yeah.
good. I'm down. So this one, it was fun. It had this kind of like one person is slowly going insane because they know for a fact that something has happened or something exists, and
And no one believes.
no
Right.
one believes them
That
because
makes it crazy.
yeah, her reality seems to be changing from minute to minute. And then we
Right.
find out Verity has a hand in that.
Right.
I,
There's a technology. That's where the technology
it is
comes.
technology. I have to say it's one of those things you have to buy in, and I tend not to buy into this Deus ex machina kind of thing where we're just oh well, you know, you have to believe that this person created this power that does not exist. So there's a big leap of imagination you have to take.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I don't mind sort of like jumping into the
Mm,
rules of this particular episode. I'm fine with the
right. Because it's funny, the show, it sometimes it asks you to take just a leap 10 years in the future. And sometimes it asks you to just suspend all time and space.
I know. And they're very vague about the time. It could be 10 years, it could be next week. We don't know.
Yeah, and the Paul Giamatti one that we both loved seems to be like, set in modern times or even a few years ago. And
Right.
his heyday seemed to be the 90s.
I know, exactly. So it has to be, somewhat recent to now.
You know what? It's an alternate time. It's
Exactly. It doesn't have to line up with reality.
yeah, because even the Aaron Paul Josh Hartnett episode that seemed to be set in like the 50s,
Yeah, right, exactly.
featuring technology we don't have. So and that went super dark when I don't feel it needed to. It was dark enough.
They're all kind of
Um,
dark.
yeah, they really are.
Even the lightest ones. Like there's one with Bryce Dallas Howard. That's one of the very lightest episodes. And even that, of course, gets dark.
I mean, I guess that's what they started with. That's the black part of Black Mirror.
I guess so, yeah. So this episode, right? Episode 2. Um, so for me, I hate when there's confusion. I hate like the Three's Company kind of
Yeah.
misunderstanding. So this one, but I liked it anyway. But that kind of thing just makes me very uncomfortable. Just when the main character people don't believe, I just feel I have empathy for that, and just so it was hard for me to like it, but I did, despite all of that.
Right. Yeah, I have problems with that. Like even some of the Twilight Zone episodes I'm not crazy about are the ones where like, hey, I've got this stopwatch and it stops time. Like I get it. It's fun, but I call bullshit on a lot of it. Some of them are so well written and so clever that I like them, and other ones just have such great performances, like
Mhm.
this one, that I'm down for it. It's very like, whoa, where's this going? Like this was one of those ones where I didn't know quite where it was headed, and I
Yeah.
was a little disappointed in where it went with just pressing a button. But
Where would you rather have had it go?
I, I I wanted to end with her just we pull out of her eye and she's in a rubber room somewhere.
With her
Like
actually having a breakdown.
yeah, that it's all in her mind. Like I like things that can be explained, and I know that uh, you can't possibly explain something that uh, makes you queen of the universe.
That's right.
But it felt cheap. It felt easy. You
Okay.
know.
There are a lot of these devices in Black Mirror. They have a lot of
Right.
like handheld devices where you can sort of just manipulate your circumstances with the press of a button.
Right. And they tend to go back to the thing where you put a little sensor on your temple.
So many episodes. Yes. Starting from
Yeah.
the very beginning. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They love that.
Yeah. So I liked in Bête Noire, I liked the performances more than the storyline, perhaps.
Oh. Shall we?
Um, yeah, let's move on. Hotel Reverie.
Oh, I love this one. Did you like it?
This is another one.
Oh no.
No, where I love, I mean, I could watch Issa Rae read the phone book. I love her. And I thought the performances were fantastic. And the lady playing opposite her, who played young Diana on The Crown,
Yeah.
I
And more.
adore. I love her. And Aquafina,
Yes.
so good. So yes, performance-wise, I absolutely love this. And aesthetic-wise, I love the black and white classic film thing that she was thrust into. I thought it was well done. You know what, I'm liking it more now that I relive it. But
I love the idea of it, though. I thought it was such a great idea. So the premise is that Aquafina works for a movie studio, and they need a hit. So they want to put a big current star into a classic movie. So in Hotel Reverie is this like a Casablanca, right?
yeah,
In this Black Mirror episode, and Issa Rae is a big. Is she an action star, or I don't know?
it seemed to me she did frothy light
Oh,
things.
okay. So she's a big star. And so they changed the gender of the character. They were thinking about a man, but once she's interested, they have her come in. And so the way that they do this is through the thing on the temple. She goes into sort of like what Sigourney Weaver and all her crew and Alien went into, like that pod to sleep.
Yeah, suspended animation kind of.
Exactly. And so it's just in her mind, so she can go through. And they have to talk her through. Like Aquafina is directing her in the movie.
I liked a lot of it. I felt like they almost pulled it off. I'm okay being counterpoint to your point on a lot of these because I know I'm coming in a little hot on some of these. But I felt it had a lot to say about like there are classic movies that we don't need to touch.
Mhm.
And people are constantly remaking things that don't need to be remade.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand why younger generations sometimes, or even older generations that never saw certain films, are like, oh, that's black and white. I don't need that.
Right. I know.
I just I don't see how you can't, if truly our attention span and our kind of like cones and rods have adapted so much in the past 10 to 15 years. I don't see why you can't just calibrate them down and watch a classic movie and enjoy it, why you need to like amp it up with new stars or adrenaline filled scenes that aren't in the original. So I like what this said, and it was an odd choice to me that they just kind of cut a star into it where I would be like, you're not going to get young people to watch that, even with someone they like. But then again, I'm like, virtual reality, we are here. You
Right.
can put yourself in a world that is not this world. So, yeah, it's a very convoluted message on a lot of levels that has a lot to say.
How do you feel about this technology just in general, where we are in our reality?
It scares me.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either. I'm not someone who is embracing it. I don't know that we need it.
I don't either. People will be playing this clip years from now, how I called it, but the I think there'll be a breaking point with the internet. There'll be like a bubble burst where it's just not a big deal anymore, and people will not go to the internet for their news because everyone will understand that you're only going to be fed things that appeal to you and things that reinforce your facts. So they won't go there for facts anymore. So I think that it won't be a news source. We'll be back to only trusting newspapers, and I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a real thing because there's like a whole generation after us that they don't even watch TV. They just rely on online sources for everything, and they don't understand that that isn't the news. Even
Yeah.
what we see as the news isn't necessarily the news, right? The
Right.
news is biased, but not to the extent where, someone's TikTok video. I mean, that is not news.
No.
I mean, I watch a lot of CNN, and I know that I'm watching a skewed version because it's a left-leaning news source, which I happen to agree with. So I like that point of view. But Fox News is.
I love that now we have to talk about centrist news
I
as
mean,
left leaning.
right. But
It's
it's the truth.
yeah.
We no longer have like, the actual news, right? Because now they have to make money. News broadcasts, they have to make money where they didn't used to. So it didn't
Yeah.
matter. They didn't have to worry about that kind of thing.
One of my favorite movies is All the President's Men,
Yeah.
Alan J. Pakula, and it's just all about Watergate. And I you see these dogged, intrepid reporters going hard at the story, not letting go. No one believes them, and they go through it and they bring down a president, essentially, an evil president. I'd kill to have Nixon in the White House today.
Right? I know. I know.
So, I mean, all of this is we're talking about what a double-edged sword the internet is in general. So something like Hotel Reverie seems almost a benign use of this technology at this point. It's like deep fake. It's like we all want to put ourselves in classic movies. So I saw that as like the next move, not really taking a star and putting her in it because they already sell their name and likeness. And you have people who die and they finish scenes with them using their visage. So I don't know if it was as cutting edge as it thought it was.
Well, yeah, and I also feel like, I'm not a big fan of AI artistically. If it can help with medical breakthroughs, I think that's amazing and things like that. But artistically, I think it's always going to be plastic and empty. So, I very much support actors who are saying, they don't want to be replaced by AI because I don't think they could. I don't think writers can be. I don't think they should be. I think they can be because it's happening, but I think that that's a very sorry state for all of us.
I also don't think Adrian Brody should win a fucking Oscar when AI goes in and fixes his accent.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of problems with that, Adrian.
I have a lot of problems with Adrian Brody. That's a
His
small one.
speech, that's the worst thing. That
Ugh,
speech ruined it.
it is the worst. That is the worst Oscar speech ever.
I think so. It's maybe they could have taken the Oscar back after he made that speech.
Oh, horrible.
Or like a there should be a period of like 10 minutes after the win that they can take it back.
Right, right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have gotten us off the rails here, but Hotel Reverie. Uh, so I think this is maybe one of the messages that you really can't remake the movie in the same way because it's going to be from today's perspective. So by just having Issa Rae in this movie changes so much of it. And in order to make the movie, like they have to do it in one long take, right? It has to happen in real time.
Yeah, it has to happen inside the actual movie that's already playing.
Right. And they, for whatever reasons, time or money, they can't afford to do it more than once. So, it's a little bit of like a comedy of errors because she has to fix whatever she messes up. And then she has a romance with Emma Corrin. And then by the end, did you want her to stay in this movie or did you want her to go back to her reality?
I wanted her to stay in the movie.
You did.
There are a couple of Twilight Zone episodes actually where someone gets to stay in the movie and it's fantastic. This is a Hollywood actor who is in frothy things and she's dying to sink her teeth into something. And so she gets, the chance to do this movie. And it's great because no matter how much you know your lines, no matter how much you hit your marks, like you were saying, a modern person can't fit into the past kind of, and life finds a way, as Jeff
Yeah.
Goldblum would say. And so it updated the movie in lots of ways. But for her to lose that pure, beautiful love, and then at the end, they try to give us, the audience, a gift with, I think, a far less tangible relationship that they have, and one that I don't see sustaining, and I don't see it being enough for either party. It's kind of sad in a way too, because it's like you can see it and not have it.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what you're missing,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
So I think if there was a way to get her back in the film at the end, I would have taken that as a writer.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I did like it though. I thought it was a very clever idea.
Yeah. Again, the performances I was totally down with, but yeah.
What's
All right.
next?
Moving along. Plaything, episode 4. An eccentric loner named Cameron, who harbors an obsession with a mysterious 1990s video game, is arrested in connection with a grisly cold case, and his interrogation soon goes places. The police Cannot understand.
Okay, this.
That's me off the top of my head, Isla.
Oh wow!
No.
You should write synopses.
Yeah, I should. I should get into synopsis.
Well, this is one crazy episode. This one I found harder to follow than the rest. I mean, I did follow it, but I just found it less interesting, I guess, maybe. So it's this guy who started out as a very normal person. And is this, so this is, I mean, it's technology, but it's also drugs, right? Because he starts taking LSD every single day
Yeah.
in order to play this video game. What would you say this game is like? I don't really know old video games too much.
It's dressed up as a video game, but I think it's more of a almost like a Sims.
That's where I was going. I thought maybe that's what it was. It's sort of like you make your own society here.
Yeah. And there's
And it's,
beings.
yes, these little creatures, they don't look like anything that we recognize, but
No.
they keep multiplying. And so he becomes obsessed with his, his virtual life and not his actual life.
Right.
By taking LSD every day, it helps him understand this game better.
Hmm.
I guess that's the basic premise.
And he feels a sense of, if not ownership, stewardship over these beings. He is like the benevolent god of their world almost.
Right.
And, this actually, while I was watching it, reminded me, I saw a direct correlation to a Twilight Zone episode, which is these astronauts land on a planet. And I think Claude Akins is in this episode. And one of the astronauts, of course, the worst one of them, like a terrible one, finds these little tiny beings, almost microscopic. And he can ask things of them. He has them bring him water. He has them build a statue to him. And he like stomps around their village and like destroys a lot of them. And he's like this fearful, vengeful god almost. This reminded me of that because the loner we talk about who is invested in this, in living in this video game kind of, he has a friend crash at his place, and his friend is a real dick. And his friend goes on, he thinks it's just a fun little video game, and he destroys a lot of these beings. And so this guy Cameron kills his friend.
Right.
And to make it up to these little beings, he does things for them. He builds them shelters. He puts bridges in. He helps them multiply. He keeps going that way to the point where he gives them access to, I guess, our world. Finally,
It's a crazy episode to me, but it's really interesting because do you think the point of it, because he gives up his whole life for this game. I mean, he becomes someone that you would never recognize. He looks nothing like he did in the beginning. Do you think the point of this is that people are so reliant on video games for their entertainment? Because, I mean, there's a whole culture where that's all people care about.
I think that's probably where it was going. Yeah. To the point where, for a guy who, was arrested by the police trying to shoplift a 40 ounce, he's about as outgoing as you can get for essentially a couch potato.
Yeah.
He's let, you know, this is a danger, not just of video games, but of like people who put their best life online. Like,
Mhm.
I feel bad for you if your best life is online. That's not the real world. And I think that's kind of part of the message is no matter how much you think you're living on the internet, you're not living.
Yeah. Right. It's virtual. It's still a virtual life.
Yeah. It's a break from life. It's a
I guess.
distraction in a lot of ways. You can do a lot of good with it, but
You can. But, I see very young people who think it is a substitute and they don't go out. They choose to stay home and communicate with a group of people online instead
yeah.
of having interaction. So the positive is that you can reach more people than you ever could, and you can be international and things like that. But we're still humans. We still need the face to face, but I think we're losing that.
Yeah, I mean, we're taping this on Zoom, and
Right.
Zoom rose to prominence and saved us all during the pandemic.
Mhm.
I mean, being able to keep in touch with people and feel like you're in the room with them in real time is an amazing thing. And you can have doctor's visits that way. You can have court cases that way. A lot of good things came out of it. People can work remotely now more than ever.
Yeah.
And it's better. People with disabilities can have jobs remotely. And there's a
And it
lot of good.
Yes, there is. People can get jobs where maybe they're not geographically able to travel to, but they still have more options. That is good, but we're still missing like the touch. We need all the senses. We need
Yeah.
to be with people. That's what we were created to do.
Right. And I think this is showing the dark side of that and how it can spiral if you don't keep your watch time under control. And if you don't build a life in the real world, you're in danger of losing yourself in
Right.
the virtual world.
Yeah. And
Uh,
and also don't do drugs because the
yeah.
LSD, changed because if you take LSD every single day for 30 years, you're going to change the chemistry of your brain.
Yeah. Even Sid Barrett only had to do 3 years before he was totally fried. Like,
Right. Very cautionary.
it is very cautionary. And also, I think in general, it tugs at that same thread that a few of these episodes do, which is like, even if you think you know where this is going, you don't know where this is going.
Right.
Especially at the very end when these little beings get into the, I don't know, the dark web or whatever and take over everything.
Right.
Who knows?
It's very
Um,
shop of horrors. Don't feed the plants.
yeah, feed me, feed me, Cameron.
Really.
So that brings us to episode 5, my favorite of this whole season.
Is this the
Uh,
one,
this is
Giamatti?
Paul Giamatti. It's called Eulogy. I'll just read this: an innovative system that enables users to literally step into photographic memories of the past leads a lonely man, played by our pal, Paul Giamatti, to re examine a heartbreaking period in his life.
Ah, I mean, there's so much to say about this episode.
We could have just done this episode.
We really could have. Well, Paul Giamatti is sort of a loner, and he is Paul Giamatti's current age. So he's, I guess, in his 50s.
Mhm.
And he gets a phone call saying that this woman he used to know passed away. And would he be willing to look for pictures and, help the family? It,
Composing a eulogy.
exactly, using this technology they have developed. So they can use his photographs of her to give the family memories, right? Because they can sort of go back. I'm not explaining.
Yeah,
You have
I think it's pitched to him as like they're contacting people who knew this woman well to get a full history of her so that they can come up with the best possible eulogy for her.
that's a much better explanation. He,
Okay.
he reluctantly agrees. He's not sure at first, and
Yeah.
he hasn't seen her in a very long time.
I get the impression he hasn't seen anybody in a very long time.
Well, that's
He's
a good.
this he's this rumpled character at a desk. Time seems to have passed him by almost. He's not living his best life when we catch up with him.
No, for sure not. And what we learn about him, we could never have guessed, right? So let's do a bit of a deeper dive into what happens. So he agrees to do it, and he gets a phone call from just this disembodied voice. It's a phone call,
Mhm.
and funny that they still have phone calls on this show.
I love the mixture of
I know.
high tech and lowbrow. Yeah.
So, but somehow the person on the other end of the phone, well, it's not an actual person, it's AI.
Right. Right. Like you
And
said, a
they're,
disembodied voice.
yeah, and they're upfront with that because they need, they want to spare the family a lot of the grief of going through
Mhm.
all of these things. They just want to bring the best parts of her
Mhm.
family. we don't really see how connected he is to this woman who died right away. We can't tell. Um, and he has a few photos, but it's like her from the back. But somehow they're
Or
yeah, go
her with her face scratched out
right. Well,
or
right. That
cut
comes
out.
later, right. Once we learn about the pain she caused him.
Yeah, the bad breakup.
So it turns out this was his one and only love,
Yeah.
and he's never gotten over losing her.
First of all, I'm going to say if anyone hasn't seen Black Mirror and you want to jump in with season 7, it's an episodic show. And I recommend that you start with episode 5, Eulogy. If you love that, you're going to love this series. And if you don't, because I think it's less bonkers than a lot of other episodes.
Yeah.
I think it's a good toe in the water episode, and I really think it's beautifully performed by Paul Giamatti and everyone else in it. But mainly, it's kind of a two-hander and a one-hander most of the time, and it's such a great performance. It's almost like the Burgess Meredith performance in Time Enough at Last in Twilight Zone. It's
But
you're
it's even more poignant because we do such a deeper look into this man.
it's gut wrenching.
Is
And oh, it just it's wistful all the way through, and then there are a couple of twists where you're like, oh, okay, that makes more sense, and then at the end there's another gut punch at the very end regarding a letter, and then there's a thing at the end where I'm just like, what am I looking at? Like it's got it all.
I know. I mean, this episode it felt like a movie.
Very much so, very cinematic.
Yes, and not that it was super long. It just, but you went on the journey that you would go on for an entire movie. It was that beautiful. It really was this. You saw this man's whole life in photographs almost, but you get such a deep sense of who he is, who he was, and who he could have been. And it's so sad what happened to him, what he allowed to happen to him.
Yeah, really, and you get to hear the Stone Roses
Yeah.
in this. Fool's Gold. It's great. It's going to be familiar to all of us if you've lived it all, if you've loved and lost, if you remember fondly a time when you were at parties with 50 people who you knew really well.
Right, right, right.
You know,
And also if you've romanticized a time in your past, if you're living in the past also, it will speak to you.
yeah, yeah,
But I think this episode also gives us hope at the end, that his life is different. The fact that he goes to the funeral where that was never going to be an option,
right.
that's a big, big deal.
Yeah, yeah. There are a few reveals at the end. Like there's more than one that really is kind of like beautiful.
Did you know that the voice was going to turn out to be who she was? I didn't. I don't like to
I
think I
Yeah, I didn't.
oh, yeah, I didn't see it.
Right. My wife did.
Yeah.
That was the funny part. I was like, she's like, I bet she'll turn out to. I was like, really? And it's good we're not exactly giving spoilers because
Yeah, this one's too special to
too special.
yeah, I want people to be able to see this and really
Yeah.
have effect. So I don't want to say exactly
Hmm.
what it is, but
But also, this is great because this is something that, and I hate to assign anything or to lean into gender roles too much,
Mhm.
but this has something that I think really rings true for a lot of men whether they want to admit it or not. And it's that we have a tendency to, because of the male ego, to kind of just assign blame
Mhm.
where it doesn't belong and to free ourselves from any of the guilt and any of the things that we did to contribute to our own loneliness and unhappiness, and bad breakups especially
Yeah.
are the domain of this, where you're just like, oh my god, you wouldn't believe what this monster did to me. And it's like, meanwhile, we see the receipts
Yeah.
in
Right.
this episode and it's
He's
fantastic.
right. He is definitely not innocent in this. And, probably he was the first one to
And none of us are blameless, Isla, in
and
anything. We're
and
all the result of our choices.
Exactly. And in the end, it doesn't even matter. What matters is how you move forward from your mistakes.
He didn't move forward.
No, he was stuck in it, and he allowed that one horrible hurt to stop his life and his growth. Really,
Absolutely.
he became a shell of a person. This
Oh,
is one of the few episodes where technology turns out to not be a bad thing
mm,
because the
yeah.
technology here didn't hurt anyone.
Well, there's a couple of technology, there's several technology things at play. Some of them, the technology is about things out of your control. But some of these, like the very first episode we started talking about, is the technology of second chances,
Mm,
and this has that built into it, among other things.
yeah. But it's so sad that he can't go back at the end of
Mm,
this. It's like if you ever wanted anyone to go back, it's this guy.
I know, and I love him. I feel so bad for him.
I
And
know.
this is what a great actor can do. At the time, even when they're kind of like highlighting that he is not blameless in his lot in life, I'm still like, yeah, I like him anyway.
Right, you're still rooting for him. I think because he just brings so much humanity to it. He's a real person, you just he's that good an actor that you just are with him no matter what. Because his character really isn't a likable guy.
It's not. He
No,
doesn't
but
start out being that way either.
no. So with a different actor, if they don't bring this quality that you inherently just are with them, you can't play this role. The episode
Yeah.
doesn't.
Well, you know what else, too? It speaks well of his character that in the beginning, he doesn't just shut it down,
Yeah.
you know? And I think it speaks to two things. One, he's savable. He's not a terrible person. He's
No.
like, all right, I'll give you a few minutes. I don't know what you want from me. I haven't known her in forever. And I think, two, it speaks to he was unaware he had so many feelings about this. He
Yeah.
has all the feels, Isla.
Awesome.
Yes. And so he's learning as he goes along that I'm not over this. This is not some crazy character. I have a lot to say about this. I'm probably the person you're going to speak to who gives you the most benefit regarding
Right.
this.
Yeah, he probably did turn out to be the most significant interview.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
the relationship with the voice became very special too.
Oh, this was a very well written episode.
I would
This,
like to see a stage version of this. I mean, it could be anything.
that's high praise. You're absolutely right. It could be a one act. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's Black Mirror at its best.
Yeah, I agree. It's the highlight. Okay, let's rocket into infinity
All right.
with episode 6, the final episode of this season, USS Callister into infinity.
Okay, so this is the episode that I think overall people like the most because it's a callback to a favorite episode, an all-time favorite for many Black Mirror fans. So this is the Star Trek episode. And why don't you give the synopsis?
It starts out a little cryptic. Robert Daly is dead, but the crew of the USS Callister, led by Captain Nanette Cole, who was awesome in this, find that their problems are just beginning. Now, that actress,
Oh, Kristen Milioti.
Kristen Milioti, fantastic. I love her in everything. I
Yeah.
think the first time I saw her and remember being like, oh my God, I love her. I think it was Fargo.
Oh, yeah. Right.
She was like the sheriff's wife,
Yeah.
I believe. And yeah, other people in it. There was one, this one guy, Jimmy Simpson
Oh my gosh.
as Walton.
Right.
I
Yeah.
called him Beercules. He was in How I Met Your Mother. He was that guy who taped a couple of big mugs to his hands
Oh,
and became
really?
Beercules, I think.
It's funny that you say How I Met Your Mother because Kristen Milioti was the mother.
Oh my
She
God,
was
that is
revealed to be
funny.
the mother at
I
the
don't
end.
go there. Yeah, that's crazy.
Simpson has been around forever, and he's a face that you definitely know. He was in what was that? Deadwood? Is that the name of a
Oh,
show?
okay. I've never watched Deadwood.
But yeah, he was in that. He's been
Wow.
in million things. He was in this other show that I used to love. I have no idea what the name of it was. It was short-lived. But it was about prisoners who were able to like they were in this special program where they could leave prison for the day to work for the government somehow. I don't know. It was really good. It sounds horrible, but it was good.
Oh wow. The last time I remember him is from the movie Zodiac. He was one of the Zodiac's victims, all
Right.
grown up.
That's right.
So yeah, that guy just he's got that one of those faces where you're just like, dude, get some sleep.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, but great actor. He can
So
do a
good.
lot of things.
And he's also eternally young. I don't think he's ever going to age.
He is. He's like a less pretty version of that actor who was on Community. What's that?
Joel McHale?
Yeah. He strikes me as like Joel McHale's like, less outgoing brother.
All right, so I'm just going to catch us up from part one
Mhm.
was about Jesse Plemons played this guy who was a tech genius. He and Jimmy Simpson together, they founded this tech company that was, it's like an Apple. And Jesse Plemons was the brains behind it, but he wasn't good socially. And so he would take people's DNA with them not knowing, and he created like this whole little like Sims kind of thing where it was his own little Star Trek reality. So he would have like other versions of these people, and they had no idea that they were participating in that. So that's the first part.
And he was the captain, right?
He was the captain, yes.
Yeah, if you're creating it, you better be the
Of
fucking
course.
captain.
Of course. And he had a thing for Kristen Milioti.
Mm.
And she liked him. He could have actually just dated her in the real world, but he couldn't. He was too far gone. He had to have her in his fantasy. And
That in itself is a message right there, and goes
exactly.
back to what we were talking about, that
Right.
you have a chance to develop real life skills and a real life love and world. And instead, because of your neuroses, because of your shyness, because of your, lack of social skills, you pour everything into an online life that is not fulfilling on
And
any
also
real level.
and just because that's easier. So you're taking the easy way out. I have seen people in life miss out on things. Like they can be in an elevator with, a celebrity and they don't even know it. That, someone they might want to talk to because they're looking at their phones constantly. I see it all the time. I see people missing things because they're looking at their phones so much.
Yeah, I said earlier that people are the sum of their choices in life, but you also there are some people who constantly choose the path of least resistance. And it's like, how did you wind up in this job? Oh, well, I got promoted and then, it was just easier to do the, oh, wow, years are going by, dude.
Yeah. Right. 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 So,
Um, so yeah, in this one, the crew of the USS Callister is stuck inside the universe of an MMPORG, which is a game. That's all you need to know. To stay alive, they need credits, so they turn to robbing players in the game. That seemed a little light to me. I didn't totally buy it. What does that buy you? Like 5 minutes? Uh,
exactly.
this causes complaints by the gamers, which leads the developers to investigate. Nanette Cole is on the case, but the truth is bizarre, illegal, and involves her.
Okay. So now she's the captain
Hmm.
because he did die in real life. Jesse Plemons, his character died. And so Aaron Paul, Jesse Pinkman, for you, he
Yeah.
was a gamer in at the end of the first episode. So we're
Mm.
picking up with the gamers now.
Right. Okay.
And
Yeah. And these people, they die in the game, but then we cut back to them in their home and they rip off their virtual reality thing and they're like, hey, what the hell?
right, right,
So
exactly. So they go back and forth. Did you like this episode as a Star Trek fan?
I did, but it felt very repetitive.
Mhm.
They kept hitting the same mark over and over. And I felt like I wanted to go somewhere better.
Mhm.
And then when I went back and saw the original one, I was like, okay, things kind of make sense. But again, like it felt like a 20-minute episode stretched.
Yeah,
out.
I very much felt like that. I didn't have a lot of patience for this episode, unfortunately.
No, it was pretty to look at.
What?
I think they really missed. It was a missed opportunity because you had so many cool looking gamers, like the alternate version of these people, like the one girl who was playing the game and she has like pink hair and she has this awesome. It's like all these cosplayers running around. I wanted more of that. I felt like that could have been a thing.
I felt like they should have been the focus of the episode and less the characters that we already knew because we saw their story before. There really wasn't anything new to tell for them, to be honest. I thought
Yeah,
they were not that interesting in part two.
yeah, and anticlimactic after the eulogy episode.
Right, exactly. I think they put it in that order because it was such a fan favorite initially.
And they
So
have so much bells and whistles. It's a big way to go out.
exactly, and you have Jesse Plemons, who's a big name, and I get all of it, but you know, but I also don't love science fiction, so it makes sense that I wouldn't love this episode so much.
Yeah. And also, like, the episode I felt was too repetitive. And then at the end of it, we're left with kind of a hotel reverie ending,
Yeah, right.
which
Yeah.
this whole thing of like, oh, the Krampus keeps us all in a world in his little snow
Mhm.
globe
Yeah.
at the end. Like, it's too easy. I think they want to tie things up in a bow sometimes, and the best things can't be contained sometimes.
Right, exactly. Like, it doesn't need a neat ending, it just needs an interesting ending, I feel like.
Yeah, I it felt to me like nothing's happening. Nothing. Okay, they're doing this again. All right, another player. Nothing's happening. Oh, wait, they tied it up in a weird way.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of this episode. I wanted to be so much, but it just
Yeah,
as much as I tried, I couldn't make myself really like it.
right. Do you know anything else about Black Mirror as far as the future? Like, is this just a show now? Are they going to keep going indefinitely, or was that it?
I don't know. It's season 7, but yet the last season was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It seems like they just put out seasons whenever they feel like it. So there's no like Curb Your Enthusiasm very much. It was just like whenever Larry David felt like doing a season, they would do a season.
Right.
So you never knew if or when there was going to be more episodes.
Right. Do you compare season like where was season 7 for you compared to because I really liked season 6.
Mhm. I so for me, season 6 and 7 were not as good as 1, 2, 3. I think those were really the heyday of it. There's a great episode. I forget the name of it, but it's a really super famous episode. And "Hang the DJ," the Smith song.
Yeah.
That's featured heavily in the episode. It's really good. Um, there's so many sort of classic Black Mirror episodes that are just so much better than the ones that they've been doing lately.
It's a refrain that I'm sure you know very well too. You get invested in the series, it's season 1, you're like, "Oh, this is really good. This is going good places." And then you're like, "Wow, that was great. I can't wait for season 2." Season 2, the creators of that show made a deal for their pet project they want to do, so they go off and do that. They get all new writers in. They're like, all right, what really made season 1 great? Yeah, let's do more of that. And let's get someone else. Actors who don't really fit call up and like, hey, I'm a big fan of the show. Do you have anything for me? Oh my God, we can get him. You get further away from what makes it special. Season 2 is great, but maybe not as good. Season 3, I stopped watching most things after season 1, sometimes season 2. So to have something sustain itself and be good, it's worth applause.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely. I think the first few seasons, maybe 1 through 4, are great of this show. Not just good, but great. But had I started watching with season 6 or 7, I might not have gone back.
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
just am so invested now. I love what the show has been, and I love certain episodes, but I don't think it's been regularly as good. Like every episode was just knocked out of the park in the first seasons.
Right. I'm glad I did it in the order I did now that you say that because I have the best seasons ahead of me. So it's looking golden for me from now on.
Oh yeah, the best is ahead of you. Absolutely.
So in closing, Season 7, kind of a mixed bag, I would say.
Still worth a watch. It's still better. Even the worst episodes are still better than so much that's out there.
Yeah, it's true. It for all of my negativity on some of these episodes, it never insulted my intelligence. If anything, the things I found frustrating or niggling was because it would be so good if they only did this, this, and this. So yeah, I highly recommend starting with the eulogy episode. See if you like it. It was a high watermark for Eila and myself, but overall, Eila says season 1 and 2, do it.
1, 2, 3, all of them. I mean, all
1,
the
2,
seasons
3.
are good, but really those first few seasons. Now,
Right.
we have an Instagram now. It's brand new. So
Mm-hmm.
it's Stream On. And look for us on Instagram. We'll follow you back. If you give us a follow, let us know what you'd like us to cover. We will take that.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd love to hear. We just did another series, so we'll probably come back with another movie, but who knows? Maybe another series.
We might get crazy. We don't
We
know.
might get crazy. Okay. Well, a pleasure as always, Eila.
Yes, absolutely.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
That's you too.